Joining me in studio now is Steve Coakley, chair of Resonance Festival, which has unveiled its programme for 2026. Now in its fourth year, the volunteer-led festival returns this February to Killaloe and Ballina on the wonderful shores of Lough, Derg, bringing together leading voices from economics, culture, sport, media and music. So let's chat with Steve to find out what's new for Resonance in 2026. Steve Coakley, a very good morning to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me here.
And thanks very much for coming in. I suppose the move to February, tell us a bit about that.
That's a big change for us, yeah. And I guess a few things were driving that. September was our previous time, and we were finding we were clashing with other things in the calendar. Not only were they like tourist events, but also back to college, back to school. Some of our key contributors, as well as our volunteers, come from third level. So we were finding that was a difficult thing to actually attract talent and attract support.
Okay, and I suppose as well you're coming just off the tail end of, from a national perspective, festival season with the summer. Indeed. And there'll be some people who are maybe festivaled out of it or don't have the time or finances to attend yet another festival.
Exactly. And actually, at the inception of our idea for the festival was to have it earlier in the year. It's just that funding didn't work out for our very first Resonance Festival. So we thought, let's go back to that. Let's put a pause on our big public festival in September, regroup and push into the February season. And that'll be a kind of a start for the new year. It'll give people something, just coming out of winter, something to
look forward to.
Yeah, to face into the rest of the year. Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
So in terms of what they can look forward to, I did mention one of the key aspects of Resonance Festival is that mixture of music, sport, economics, culture, a wide variety. A tapas going on here.
Indeed,
to throw some names at us. What can people expect from this event?
Well, actually, the theme of it is big ideas in small places. That's what we're thinking about this year, and we've widened the number of venues and increased the content versus what we've done before. So we've got the likes of Gemma Hayes joining us for music this year, which is great because I think Gemma brings a lot of interesting introspection in her music, but also she's a Tipperary born as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's a kind of a hometown gig in a way.
In a way, yeah, indeed, and but. Then joining on the main event, the likes of David McWilliams, who has kind of a national voice when it comes to economics, even global. And not only will David be talking on our main stage in our main event on the Thursday night, but he'll be joining us for a panel session for a more informal chat. And also he'll be reading his book, his new book, Money. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but I've been listening to the audio book. I think it's fantastic. So we've the likes of David McWilliams, we've got Gemma Hayes on music, as I said, Kathy Halloran, ex-RTE. So we've a real mix of people coming to this. David Gillick, Olympian. David will also be reading from his book as well as being on the main stage and talking about his journey. So
it's quite a variety there, that is for sure. And does it help, Steve, for the likes of yourself and Emily Ross to encourage these people or to book these people for the festival? Because now it's a few years in, as I mentioned, this will be the fourth instalment. Have you noticed year on year that it becomes easier to lure people to the area because the festival has a growing reputation, but also I guess the locality? I know I live near there myself. It's wonderful.
It is. Yeah, we're blessed in the location, and of course we've recently pedestrianised our bridge, and I think that's another attraction for people to come to the area and just be in the place of connection as we've kind of I guess characterised it for our festival. But the idea of bringing more people, we're even bringing people back. So the likes of Evelyn Cusack, who is a fantastic speaker for us at our Resonance 2024 event, is coming back to talk about her book. So it's great that people actually come back as well as are newly attracted. And as you say, our kind of a track record, I think, really does speak almost for itself. The likes of having John Lonergan in the past talking about his experiences in Mountjoy. It was a real... It was like the icing on the cake of our previous public event to have speakers of his calibre. And then when you say to future speakers, we've had that kind of lineup.
Look who's been here before.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so some really good names coming. It's the 11th and 12th of February, by the way, which is a Wednesday and a Thursday, which is probably a little bit different from when people would traditionally think a festival would occur. What's the thing behind that it isn't, a weekend or a Friday and Saturday or something like that?
Yeah, and we do hope to scale into those days of the week in time. I guess what we're trying to do is gather a cohort of people who are happy to spend some time, because we give the options for things like workshops, design thinking workshops, and take time out of their working day, because as you say, it's not your traditional on the weekend, but really invest that time in themselves. So to put those kind of pieces of material available to people Wednesday and Thursday, we're thinking they really are taking their time out, but investing in their own thinking, their own inspiration, their own development, and that's what we're hoping they will do and join us on those 2 days.
I suppose again, year on year with a festival, you're always kind of keep the elements that really attract people to it, but to ensure it doesn't go stale, you're always trying to tweak, add little new elements, maybe take older ones out. So there's new film panel and podcast elements this year. Is that part of what prompted that expansion, or were you going to be expanding regardless anyway? Well,
I suppose the movie piece, for example, we just felt there are certain documentaries out there. We're very lucky to be premiering Underland at our festival, that movie, which is a documentary version of Robert McFarlane's book. So the idea that different ways of presenting new ideas always made us think, that we'd bring movies in as a way of gathering that kind of inspiration and thinking for people into an easily consumed kind of package. So it's another take on new ideas, another take on connecting with people, because as part of those movies we will have that discussion and have a kind of a questions from the floor, but a panel available to just what does this mean for us? What do those movies say to us? So as you say, we were always looking for something new to add, but those kind of those ideas of movies and podcasts. I guess with podcasts, we're always thinking there's got to be a way to continue the discussion, I guess, after the main event. Bring other previous speakers back, current speakers at this year's event, allow them to just expand more on what they wanted to say, because sometimes the TED Talk type format we have on stage, it can actually make them reflective afterwards, because they'll have met people in the audience and maybe want to bring more back through the podcast that follows.
The festival is a volunteer-led festival and not for profit. How important is the community involvement, Steve, to the success of Resonance?
It's huge, because you mentioned my co-founder Emily. There's also my co-founder Carmel Doolan. Between the three of us, it might look like we're doing a lot, but there's so many other people involved. So not only the venues that are local to the community, but some of those venues are doing things like supplying food, supplying people, volunteers. We've continued to keep our volunteer group with us from previous events and add to it, and are always looking for more, because I think the scaling plan that we have will allow us to then bring more people in. So I mentioned universities and university students, that idea that we give people a platform, because one of our themes is sustainability within our festival, and we're really kind of passionate about that. And there's quite a cohort in the University of Limerick that we'd love to keep bringing through our festival. So that idea that we bring more and more volunteers, as well as using all the people in the two villages as well to support us.
Okay, so just to reiterate, it's Wednesday and Thursday, the 11th and 12th of February. There's quite a variety of events in various locations, Steve. So in terms of ticketing, if people want to head along, is there an overall festival ticket for the 2 days, or is it individually ticketed depending on what event you want to go to?
Yeah, so it is individually ticketed. We actually had feedback from previous events where people were finding it difficult to buy a festival pass and get the value of all of the events that they were paying money for. So we said, let's just make it, your word tapas is a good point, is a good term for it. Let's give them the choice. And so we've reduced the overall price of tickets, allowing people to then buy individual events as they want.
Okay, very good. And speaking of which, where can they find out more about the festival programme and tickets? Presumably you have a website?
We do have our website, so that's resonance-lochderg.com. So I'll say it again, resonance-lochderg.com. And if they follow us on Instagram, that's a great way to keep up to date on what we're doing. So that's at Resonance Talks. They're probably the two best ways. So if they land on our landing page on our website, buy tickets is there. It does, within that, after you press that button, it'll tell you what event what price, what to expect. So great if they can follow us on Instagram. I think that's where they're going to get all their information.
Okay, there you go. Follow them on Instagram. That is the way to go. Steve Coakley from Resonance Festival, the chairperson and co-founder. Thank you very much, and I'm sure it'll go swimmingly, and you'll be talking to us next time about the 5th instalment of Resonance Festival, and maybe you'll carry through on your promise or threat, depending on your capability, the ukulele next time.
Indeed.
And I'll bring mine in, and we'll really reduce the Morning Focus listenership. Steve, thanks very much.